Well, hello everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar, How to Choose the Right Budgeting and Forecasting System. My name is Thomas Ironstone, and I'm the Manager of Corporate Performance Management and Business Intelligence here at CR Group. It is my pleasure to be here with you all today to discuss ways to transform your business budgeting this year. I would also like to introduce my co-host today. Donna Paoletti has been a business solutions consultant at CR Group for 18 years and specializes in costing, budgeting, and corporate performance management solutions. A few housekeeping items before we get started. This webinar is being recorded and we'll send it to all participants later in the week. We welcome your questions, so please type them into your GoToWebinar panel and we'll do our best to answer all of them at the end of the session. This does qualify for one professional development hour and you will be getting a certificate along with the video recording. And finally, we're excited to share that we'll be doing a draw at the end of the webinar for those who stick around. We'll be randomly selecting an attendee who will receive a $50 Amazon gift card. So today's agenda, we'll talk a little bit about Corporate Renaissance Group. We'll discuss what features to look for in a new budgeting system. Next, we'll discuss knowing what solution is right for you based on some key criteria. We'll do a review of our top 4 budgeting systems. We'll discuss what kind of customizations and highly configuration options are available for you. We'll discuss some real-world examples, and we'll obviously leave it open at the end for questions and answers, along with announcing the winner of the gift card. Corporate Renaissance Group has been around for over 30 years and has been dedicated to improve enterprise performance. With our team, we have both technical and business expertise to provide superior consulting services, along with our unmatched technology portfolio to ensure that we deliver the best solution every time. In our portfolio, we deal with enterprise resource planning, unique solutions, collaboration and productivity, business intelligence and reporting, talent management, corporate performance management and budgeting, and value-based management. So everything on the ERP side, primarily on Microsoft Dynamics Stack from an implementation standpoint. However, with our other solutions, we do integrate with virtually any different accounting system when we're discussing our reporting and budgeting solutions, just so everyone's aware of that. We offer unique solutions, everything from cost allocation tools to retail-based solutions. On the collaboration side, we deal with SharePoint, Teams, Office 365, as well as Dynamics 365 CE. On the talent management side of things, we deal with Emperform, which is truly a talent management-based solution, which delivers appraisals, 360 reviews, things of that nature. We also deal in Dynamics 365 HR. Now, really today's focus is going to be around the CPM and budgeting, where we're going to be focusing on some of our key solutions. And of course, so everyone's aware that's the time of the webinar today, we also deal in value-based management with our consulting practice, everything from strategy and planning, executive compensation, shared services, and activity-based costing. So to kick things off, we'll start talking about some of the challenges and things that you might be experiencing today, which will really drive the need to understand if you need a budgeting solution at all. So first off, one of the major challenges is that many organizations, regardless of size or maturity as a firm, is that the processes could be largely manual or spreadsheet based. So a lot of time is spent on administering, budgeting, and reporting, and there's very limited time that's actually spent on analysis to better enable decision makers. One of the other big challenges is that the contributors in the budgeting process have trouble accessing the latest budgeting and forecasts. Whether these are individuals that are inputting budget data or updating forecasts, or they're individuals that need to review or be able to understand what the latest version is. So this is typically a common problem because say files are floating around everywhere in emails or in different directories that they're not sure which one is actually the latest. Another big challenge is slow turnaround for budget revisions and even forecasts. So the big challenge here is that obviously everyone has their day-to-day, and then when the budgeting process comes or when the reforecasting process comes along, it's seen as a big onerous process to get those inputs and revisions. Another big challenge is that the current process might not be synchronized with your accounting system. So within your accounting system, you might be adding new accounts, departments, business units, customers, whatever it might be, and it might not be synchronized with your planning process. So what you want in this case is be able to, as those items, dimensions, accounts get updated in your core ERP, it can cause some challenges for the individuals to be able to plan better when they don't have those updated, that updated dimensionality. And then finally, one of the biggest challenges and pain points, and this goes from the finance team all the way through to the C-level suite, is having to recreate reports on an ongoing basis and presentations when data is revised. So your current process today, whether it might be your Word documents, your PowerPoint presentations, or let's say a pseudo dashboards potentially, is that the data might not be synchronized to your budget or to your actuals, meaning that as the data gets updated, you might be going through a process where you're copying and pasting into PowerPoint or Word to be able to update those presentations. So if you feel like you're having some of these challenges, here's what to consider when you're evaluating what solution makes sense for your business. So first is looking for something that can help streamline and automate your budgeting and reporting templates. So you want to look for a tool that might allow you to have structured templates and that they don't need to be recreated every time. So as you might be working today in Excel, as the budgeting process happens, you might have to update these templates, and it could be very manual year to year, and even maybe on a forecasting basis, it might also be very manual as well. So you want to have something that can recreate the structure once, and then automatically writes data back into, writes back that budgeting and forecasting data into a centralized data set, so that you don't have to worry about cobbling it together or updating it every time. You also want to be able to create your own templates with multidimensionality. So as an example, you might just create one template. As an example, that could just be a operating expense cost center type budgeting template. And as opposed to having to, as you might be doing in Excel, having a new tab for every different department or cost center, really you want to look for a tool that will be able to just create the template once, and then you're filtering on those different divisions, as opposed to have multiple tabs, as an example, in a spreadsheet, and have to create a new tab for a new department every time. So you can easily remove those within using any type of budgeting tool. Next is to make all budgets and data accessible. So no matter where the budget contributors are, whether they are inputting data or they're reviewing data, make it easier for them to access it. So this can be done through cloud-based options where they can access anywhere with the internet connection. So you might want to look for solutions, obviously, that will have web access, that are browser-based. Even within, say, Excel, or potentially with your expanded operations and an executive team, you might also want to give the ability for offline reporting, in the sense that being able to integrate your budgeting solution or reporting solution with, say, a solution like Microsoft Office. So being able to have offline access to your budget data. So whether, I know today it's not really a common example, but traveling, or if you're potentially in an area or region of the world where you might have limited access to internet. And so you might want to pull that budget data down, input the budget data, and then once you get access back to your internet connection, then you can write the data back. Next is mobile access. Of course, everyone is used to having their mobile device, their tablets. So being able to have access to the up-to-date budgets and forecasts and be able to view them on your mobile device can go a long way for the business team. And finally, broadcasting. And this means in the sense that being able to push out reports, or being able to push things out to individuals as opposed to them having to go into the platform. So there's many things you can look at in that area as well. Next is helping speed up the turnaround of the budgeting revisions. So most budgeting platforms today quickly aggregate and collect the data from the contributors, and all of the related reports and everything that goes along with it are automatically updated. So this is a huge time savings for many finance departments that don't really get a full view of the budget until everything's been submitted, and then they have to cobble all the data together to provide a big summary view of everything. So this can be a big pain point for many finance departments. So look for something that allows, as people are inputting their data, those reports are automatically getting refreshed. So at the top level, at the C level, they're able to see the budget data rolled up, and the business leaders can actually get an idea of what the budget's looking like at various stages throughout the process. And it can also allow the different business units and departments to provide timely feedback as well. So as they see things are being updated, they might be able to provide some input right away and make the process a bit more collaborative. Next is you might want to synchronize it, and actually you probably should synchronize it with your accounting system. So as accounts are being updated, as dimensionality in your ERP is being updated, that same data flows through to your budgeting and reporting platform. So this will eliminate the manual process having to export data from your ERP and then load it into your Excel spreadsheets, as an example, to update your budget templates and reports. All that's gone if you're integrated and linked into your accounting system. And finally, really when you're in those presentations, whether it's the management level or the board level, or even just to different business units, you don't want to be presenting outdated data. So a fully integrated budgeting and reporting, also known as a corporate performance management platform, can enable seamless updates of data. So as I was mentioning earlier in the presentation, is that many times the finance department is constantly updating reports. If data changes in the budget or actuals, they're copying and pasting, updating PowerPoint presentations and Word documents. It is just it can be a big waste of time for finance departments. So if those are integrated, everything gets updated, it's going to be a huge time saver for the finance team. So this is where you might want to look at something that provides integrated presentation capabilities right in the platform. So presenting in dashboards, have presentation type views of the budget data with commentary, or even integration to the Microsoft Office suite. So there's multiple options there as well. So now, what features should you be looking for in a new budgeting system? Understanding the challenges, some potential solutions to overcome them. How do you find what's right for your company? So here are some new features, or key features, I should say, to look for in your new budgeting platform. So some key things is accessibility, obviously. So regardless of where people are, being able to allow them to connect into their budgets and reports. Broadcasting, be able to push stuff out to people as opposed to them having to always log in and see what the updated report is. Collaboration is key. So as your organization is growing, there's multiple people involved. You want also people to have accountability. So collaboration is key when doing a budget or forecast. So collaboration capabilities are very important. Scalability for your business needs. So as you know, if as your organization or business might be growing or changing, you might look for a tool that's going to fit your future as opposed to just your current needs. Reporting is key as well. So it's opposed to just pushing out reports or creating reports, say as the finance team, sending them off to the different business heads or to the management team. You might also want to make them a bit self-sufficient in the sense that once the report is created, they can just log in and look at the report that's automatically refreshed, whether it's month-end type reporting or whether it's intra-month type reporting just with updated transactional data, whatever it might be, give them the ability to have those updated reports on a self-service basis. Being able to have exception-based reporting in the sense that if you're exceeding a threshold where you're way over budget or you're approaching budget, you might want some of those early warnings so then you can adapt and provide communication to individuals throughout the organization. So being able to look for some functionality around that for some large organizations can help keep things in line. Data visualization, dashboarding capabilities is becoming very important in the finance realm as well. So being able to take finance data, which maybe some of the business users that might not have say a finance background, to read a P&L or balance sheet or cash flow and be able to distill those down into metrics and then display it in a visual dashboard to understand what trends are and to be able to draw some quick insights. Process controls, access controls, so ensure that there's security and lockdown, so only individuals can access certain departments or certain functionality of the platform, whether it's your revenue plan, your operating expense plan, or even your payroll plan. So being able to lock those pieces down and only allow people to see certain cross sections of the budget that's relevant to them. Customizable workflow. Many large organizations look for this. They might have a very specific process and they need that budget process to the budget model to support that. So in some cases, this can be very important for some larger organizations. Automated financial statements goes without saying. So as you're updating your budgets, actuals are coming in, you want to be able to automatically refresh those financials without having to manually cobble it together. What if analysis and reforecasting is huge, and especially in today's world where things are constantly changing, having that functionality to be able to update assumptions and be able to rerun those different scenarios so you can have updated reports and versions of the budget is key. Top-down budget entry. So this is more so looking for organizations that might have a very distributed process, but once the budget gets, say, up to the senior management level or to the board level, they might want to just say, we want everything to increase or decrease by a certain percentage or dollar amount. So being able to do some of those top-down adjustments can be very critical as well. For companies that are, say, of a larger size where there's multiple entities, maybe working across multiple countries, whether it's operating or selling, they might have multi-currency requirements as well. And sometimes hand in hand with that goes financial consolidation requirements. So in that case, you might be wanting to look for a tool that will have some financial consolidation capabilities as well. Of course, driver-based modeling. So if you want to distill your budget data and make it more controllable, make it more accountable for the contributors, being able to distill that down into units and rates as an example, so they can better prepare the budget and explain where the variances are coming from. And then finally, some organizations might have a very, very specific process where they have template designer functionality requirements in the sense that they might have a very specific format where the columns and rows, as an example, might have to display certain things. So in that case, you might want to look for a tool that has template designer functionality. So all that being said, what are companies looking for based on company size? And this is not it's a black and white in the sense that there's a lot of gray areas with this. So this is some smaller companies might just want just some core modules, or they might just be budgeting at the GL chart of account level. They might have some what if analysis requirements and reforecasting. However, that being said, there's some small businesses that might have some very complex requirements, and so they might require some of the mid-size functionality, or even some of the large corporation type functionality. But this is where you look for sort of cost benefit as far as, you know, we might be small, but we don't, some of the large corporation type functionality might be more of a nice to have. And so there's some areas, as I said, that are very gray areas, and the tools can go across the board. But typically smaller organizations might just require things around that. So the mid-level, mid-size organizations, they might start be looking into, say, building out detailed driver-based modeling. So be able to have rates and units and have different people have controls over those to be able to input and update it. So that could also be a small business type requirement as well, but definitely in the mid-sized type organizations, we see that more and more. Obviously self-service reporting, so as you get to the mid-size, your reporting requirements might become a little bit more onerous. So be able to allow the business heads to be able to run their own reports on an automated basis. And in here as well comes more requirements for dashboarding and data visualization as well. And then finally, for larger organizations, they might require stuff around more critical things around process controls, workflow, if things are very specific for how their organization works, and they might want that workflow to exactly mirror what their current process is. That might be more of an important requirement for larger organizations. Obviously, larger organizations might come with multi-entity or multi-company and multi-currency requirements as well. So they might require, say, financial consolidation requirements. Collaboration, obviously, the larger you get, the more spread out your organization is. Having a tool that can easily facilitate collaboration, whether it's inputting budget data, providing comments, collaboration on reports, whatever it might be, the larger the organization is, having a tool that can facilitate collaboration easily can be a big value add. Top down, of course, once we get up to the senior management board level, in a large organization, having a tool that can easily facilitate that can go a long way. Whereas small organizations, they might not necessarily require that because it might be a smaller scale and it'd be easier to do top-down stuff, just write in your templates as opposed to having logic to be able to push down top-down adjustments. Broadcasting, distributing stuff out on a routine basis. Obviously, template designer I discussed briefly, so that around if you have very unique requirements on what layouts and the user interface navigation could look like, that might be something for more of a larger organization, and it might be more of a nice to have for small and mid-sized organizations. Exception-based reporting, of course, this is important for mid-size and even small organizations, but some of that can be just easily managed on a manual basis, where larger organizations, when they're so widespread, this might be more and more important to them. And of course, I already discussed a bit about financial consolidation. If you're multi-company, you have eliminations, multi-currency, so you might have some CTA requirements. The larger organizations might require that type of functionality. So again, understanding some of the key challenges, some solutions, what different organizations should look for. Now let's understand what some actual companies have done to achieve FP&A success. One example is Telesat, where they had multi-currency reporting and budgeting requirements, quite large in the sense that they had 60, say, orgs across 5 companies, and board was rapidly being adopted for different functional areas. So the key requirements for them was multi-currency financial reporting and variance analysis to understand foreign exchange impact. And so being able to implement a solution that allowed them to run different scenarios, update reports, update their forecasts was absolutely critical. So the solution was deployed, dashboarding was developed for their satellite capacity as well, and integration with their ERP system. Another example is Carmana, which had over 7 companies across 5 countries. Multiple industries they're working in as well. So they had multi-company, multi-currency requirements. And so they required a tool that would allow them to do consolidated reporting, working paper, CTA, be able to provide them all of their budgeting and planning, revenue, cost of goods sold, personnel planning, CapEx, as well as providing reporting around sales key performance indicators around revenue bookings and backlogs. Of course, they required integration with their ERP system, and they would be able to reduce their month-end process from a week down to only a couple days. And another example is in the sports entertainment area, where OSEG, they have over 100 games and events each year, 10 different business units or companies, and their old process had limited integration to their finance systems. And so the project allowed them to do all their planning for different home games, away games, planning for events, their personnel planning, and be able to deploy all of their financial statements, as well as deploying a monthly reporting package as well in Excel. Now let's meet our leading business and business budgeting and forecasting systems that we have found. So we've done a lot of due diligence as far as what solutions we think can meet different organizations' needs from size and scale. So we have Rapidstart, which is fairly new to the North American market, which we've found will deliver the needs for small to medium-sized businesses quite easily out of the box. And so my colleague Donna will be discussing that a bit more as well. Workday planning. This is one of the leaders in corporate performance management solutions in the cloud. So they deal with medium to large size businesses, and it's been one of the leaders for many years. idu-Concept, which is again one of the top 25 corporate performance planning applications on Gartner, and it's has a SQL backend, and it's built for medium to large businesses that will provide budgeting, planning, and forecasting requirements. And then there's Board, which is recognized by Gartner as well, with over 3,000 customers globally, and it delivers key business decision-making capabilities across budgeting, planning, scorecards, financial consolidation, and much more. Now, understanding that there's 4 different platforms, some of the key functionality that you might be looking for, here we've done sort of an evaluation of these tools to understand what the different pieces of functionality are. So you'll see for the most part across the board, they'll deliver the functionality. Where some of the differences might come from is around, say, those nice to haves that are for larger organizations. Could be around workflow as an example, financial consolidation requirements. Some of the differences as well around broadcasting, so being able to push out reporting, whether there's limitations on number of accounts and projects. Most are unlimited, but with Rapidstart, it's designed for smaller organizations, so those limits typically meet their needs. Differences in modeling capabilities, custom calculations, top-down budgeting, template development. Predictive Analytics, so some of the tools can provide this functionality. And then self-service setup with the Rapidstart product, because it's designed out of the box to get people up and running very quickly for smaller organizations. All right, so that being said, I'm going to hand it over to my colleague Donna, who will take you through Rapidstart and Workday planning.
Great, thanks, Tom. So the first thing that I wanted to, highlight for Rapidstart was the price. I mean, it's a great tool at a very low price point. It's quite powerful, and we'll go into some of the details. Unfortunately, we don't have a ton of time to go into all of the functionality. Tom talked about the challenges, and I'll kind of address those challenges with the tools that we're walking through. But at any point, I mean, we can get you more information on these particular solutions that you're looking at. Basically, you can get Rapidstart up and running for about $4,000 a year. So it's a great entry point for those who want to, be a step above Excel and perhaps not into some of the more what I'll call expensive solutions. So when we talk about Rapidstart, we're actually talking about an online cloud-based tool. So Tom, mentioned that one of the challenges was accessibility, and perhaps you wanted something in the cloud so folks could, have better access and access it on the mobile and all of those sorts of things. So Rapidstart is on the cloud, any URL, and you can log in. The neat thing about Rapidstart is that it's modules based, in that there's a revenues module, an expense module, a payroll module, capital asset planning module, financing module, and it also allows you to do what we call below the line details. So typically for smaller organizations, they would, let's say, plan their expenses by account by month, as an example. Sometimes that information isn't, detailed enough. So what you can actually do is you can build what we call line item details underneath a particular account. Let's talk about travel. Not that it's happening too much, these days, but if you had 3 conferences planned throughout the year and you knew the timing of those conferences, you could create 3 line items below travel, document what those items were for, so conference A, B, and C, and then enter the expenses in the month of the planned travel. So something like that, where it just gives you a little bit more richness than trying to put in one blanket amount per month, I'll say. So it's quite nice. The revenue module will actually, it allows you to build either service revenues or product revenues by creating price books and building up your modules from there. The CapEx module allows you to create your different asset categories, and the budget contributors may not realize the accounting processes they're going on in the background in terms of if you buy a computer, we need to straight line depreciate it over 36 months, what have you. We can create all of those rules and create those standard, the templates that Thomas was talking about. So, you're not just having a manual data entry spreadsheet. You can create the driver logic behind the scenes. And then as the user enters, yes, I would like to purchase a computer in a given month, all of those calculations are happening on behind the scenes. And the real beauty of Rapidstart is that you're actually getting the integrated P&L balance sheet and cash flow out of the box. So, there is a setup component required with this and with any software, and we help you, structure the model to make sure you're going to get the reporting that you need out of it. And then based on all of the inputs that are going on through all the modules, you actually get your planned financial statements, I'll call that. On top of that, we've got built-in reporting as well, where we can create, pardon me, not just the reports library that comes out of the box, but you can do custom reports as well. So Tom talked about, and on an earlier slide, we saw there are some limitations. I mean, with the lower price point, of course, you do give up some functionality, but what we found is this really is a great entry tool for the small to medium size organizations that are looking for a tool that's over and above Excel and perhaps not an expensive one. So these limitations, I haven't come across anybody that they were a roadblock to. That being said, Rapidstart is actually what I'll call a subset of a maxi plan tool where there's complete and full functionality. So if you came up to me and said, hey, this 300 account limit is really a deal breaker for me, we can get that raised for you. So I just wanted you to know there's flexibility. You can create up to 2 projects. So they're almost like, a budget versus a forecast. And then you can keep those rolling. So as you continue going forward through the periods, you're not looking at new projects. You're just sort of extending the existing projects there. It does support for anybody who uses GP and multi-entity management. It does support multi-entity management, and it does allow you to have multiple currencies. And there's a very nice dashboard on the web page that you can customize as well to kind of take a look and see, where things are at there. So it's quite a nice entry tool. And now I'm going to talk about adaptive planning. Now, adaptive planning, I'll caveat and say it's a little bit more of a Cadillac solution as opposed to the Ford solution with the Rapidstart. So it's got full functionality and the ability to do unlimited modeling really in terms of your planning process. And of course with that functionality comes a little bit of a higher price tag, but it's really it has been a leader in cloud performance. It's also cloud-based, so the accessibility issue is key for this one too as well. And the nice thing about adaptive, and one of the selling points, it's not such an issue these days, but it was built in the cloud for the cloud. So some of the other, solutions that are out there that were perhaps what I'll call on-premise based and then moved into the cloud as the cloud movement, picked up momentum, there were some challenges during that transition period. I think now all of the products are mature in the cloud. So, but adaptive has always been built in the cloud for the cloud, and their focus solely is on the adaptive planning solution. It is also what we call a suite of solutions or modules based. Adaptive Insights got purchased by Workday quite a year or 2 ago. And we haven't really seen too many changes to the Adaptive Insights model. They're really, they've been successful. As you can see, they've had, phenomenal growth. They've got a phenomenal number of customers. They've got a great partner base. They're in all the countries in the world, basically, and they're number 1 in market share. And they've actually been very, consistent in the Gartner reports and coming in top on customer satisfaction and usability. So Workday does not want to mess with that formula and the success of the project. Of course, they're actually, putting more money into it to create new features, new functionality. And it is also what we call modules based. So it really depends on the needs. And the pricing has changed over the last, 10 years or so that we've almost been partnered with them. I mean, every year, they may make a change to that. Currently, right now, they've got bundled packages with a lot of the functionality that we're looking at bundled in together. At the heart of any package is the adaptive planning instance, and this was where you would actually plan your model. Tom mentioned, if we could create standard templates and create those driver-based rules so that, the manual processes are minimized and we can put standardization and kind of, in the hands of the business users. Adaptive allows you to do that. You can create any sort of template that you want. And I like to say that, if it's mathematically modelable, you can actually accomplish it in adaptive. So, at the heart is the planning and these templates where you do all of your data entry, your capturing and your calculations. And then there's a discovery module, which actually is a dashboarding module, which allows you to do visualizations, in the form of all sorts of neat things in terms of gauges and waterfalls and all of that kind of neat stuff. Then there's a consolidation module, which actually allows you, from the budgeting perspective to, do your do-tos and do-froms from companies. And then we have some built-in reporting. Tom actually talked about one of the challenges as well as the synchronization to the, your accounting system or your ERP system. So Adaptive actually allows you to do integrations, and their pricing is actually quite interesting. You either pay for one integration or you pay for unlimited integration. So, overwhelmingly, all of our clients have chosen the unlimited integration model. And the beauty of it is that not only do you and can you integrate your financial data from your accounting systems, GP, NetSuite, whatever you're using there, you can actually start to pull in and integrate non-financial data. So it's really, becomes a powerful tool in reporting not only financial information and financial reports, but also, KPIs and key performance metrics that are a combination of the financial and non-financial data. And as Tom said, if you actually, have this synchronized to your different data sources, the integrity of the data is there, and the end users can actually have faith in it and know that, yes, the data that I've got is valuable and it's good, and it's information that I can have comfort in and faith in and as I'm reporting. So when we talk about the planning, it's your traditional, again, you get just like Rapidstart, you get your integrated or planned, financial statements in terms of your profit and loss, your balance sheet, your cash flow. And then you can create any number of templates to capture other data, such as your capital data, personnel, travel. So, you'll find that this is pretty consistent with a lot of these solutions out there. This is a nice piece here with the dashboarding and the discovery, because you can actually create unique dashboards for your different users of the system. And the security and adaptive is, because it's a cloud-based system, it's all based on your login. So it defines, what information you can see at what level and what views you're going to get in, on your dashboard. So typically, we would help set up a certain, view for the executives, which is very, very different than what the finance folks would be monitoring, which is very different than what the operational folks might be monitoring. So it's beautiful that you can actually create these unique views that are, applicable to the information that the particular user is looking for. On top of that, Thomas mentioned that, we need the ability to actually, recreate reports as information changes and have, kind of one version of the truth, and to make the reporting a little bit more seamless in terms of the updates that are going on. So there is a built-in reporting functionality in Adaptive, and it's basically, you can create them on on HTML, you can export them to Excel, you can create PDFs, whatever you need to do. Again, security based, so you're only going to see the information that you're entitled to see. But the nice thing with this and most online tools is that as soon as you click a button and save, and the changes are rendered through the model, everybody is only looking at the one version of the truth. So it's really, again, comes back to that integrity of data and the collaboration, and you have the ability to annotate on these reports. So if there's a reason in a particular month when something is an anomaly, you can actually make a note of that and report on it, so that the end users don't have to keep running back to finance. And the key really, I think, with any of these online or automated tools is to kind of reduce the amount of manual work that's required, and I think that was the number one challenge that Thomas mentioned, and free up finance's time, I'll say, because these are usually the users of the system, and the key or the power users are the finance folks. Free up their time to be more strategic to the organization and actually, provide, analyze the information rather than trying to just report on it. Last thing, or one of the things that I wanted to talk about, was Office Connect. So Tom also said, it would be great to, have your data be able to seamlessly be, reported on and updated, maybe through templates, through presentation types, through, Excel, Microsoft Excel, and those sorts of things. So in addition to the online reporting and the discovery that Adaptive has, they've also got this reporting capability called Office Connect. And it actually allows you to connect Excel to your Adaptive Insights instance, and more importantly, you have your data refreshed. So you could almost create like a March 2020 report, and then by simply changing your report date from March to April, everything will be reflected and updated, and it'll all be, again, one version of the truth looking at that. And very, very easy to refresh, and it's really used a lot by our clients, for board reporting packs and those types of things, where the functionality of, or let me say, the formatting of the reports directly in Adaptive through the the reporting mechanism are a little bit limited in what we can accomplish. But by using Office Connect, you actually get the full capabilities of Excel, and you can sort of add your columns and rows and do any functionality and conditional formatting or anything that you could think of that you'd want to do in Excel, you can do, but you're pointing to the Adaptive Insights instance. And then as an added bonus, what you can actually do is you can connect your Microsoft Word documents and your Microsoft PowerPoint documents, again through Office Connect, to your Excel sheets or models that you're building, and be able to refresh these right away. And you can do some neat little tricks where you can, change the wording of your text based on whether the changes has increased or decreased in the month. Is it positive? Is it negative? And you can, there's some neat little tricks where you can actually have some of that text updated for you based on the changes of the documents. By no means is it, meant to replace the intelligence that the finance folks bring when they analyze and talk about the financial statements and the board reports and all of those, but it's kind of neat that way. So clients quite like the Office Connect. So really, when you're looking at a tool like Adaptive Insights, and this is also applicable to, other solutions, but they really are meant to be tools for the business users in terms of the finance folks in the organization. The IT footprint is almost minimal, and they really are meant to, as Thomas mentioned in the case studies, they really, they're trying to speed up your planning time. They're trying to make it easy to use, and they're trying to make it affordable for you. So Tom, with that, I will actually pass it back to you so you can talk about IDU.
Thank you very much, Donna.
Thanks.
So next I'll take you through idu-Concept and then through board. So with idu-Concept, it's really been designed to be a tool that empowers non-finance users. So it provides all the capabilities that you'd want from a budgeting and planning platform, but having non-finance business users in mind. And so it's designed to be friendly to use, providing all of the budgeting, forecasting, and reporting requirements that you would need. It's also built on the Microsoft stack as well. So if you're a Microsoft shop, in the sense that you want a platform that has a SQL backend, and obviously leverages Microsoft reporting requirements around Power BI, SSRS, Excel, things of that nature. It's truly built into the Microsoft stack. Technology standpoint as well, can be accessed through virtually any browser. So it is cloud-based. So obviously you can access it wherever you are, whether you're using Chrome, Firefox, Safari. And while it is designed to be a cloud platform, if you do have a requirement for an on-premise solution, this solution can also be accommodated internally within your organization as an on-premise solution as well. So some of the key functionality with IDU is that it can interface with all common ERP platforms. So it will set up routines to be able to pull your chart of account data, your trial balance data, your transactional data, and update your forecasting and reporting requirements, as well as your budget templates with new updated structures. You can view multiple views of the data. So as you're planning your budget, if you want to view it by account category, as an example, or account versus department, you can get those different views as well. Of course, it provides real-time aggregation of the data. So as you're inputting your budget data, all of your the roll-ups of the budget get updated automatically. And as you pull in actuals, all the reports get updated as well. From a security standpoint, it is designed to be owned by finance. So finance can control the tool, can provide users access to the tool, and what areas they can access within the platform as well. Because of the structure and being very easy to use, intuitive, it can be deployed quite rapidly. So the frameworks that idu-Concept is based upon can allow you to get up and running with a solution quite quickly. idu-Concept has released new financial modeling capabilities fairly recently. And the idea around this is around the need for dynamic forecasting, in the sense that if you want to change your assumptions, obviously in today's environment, things are rapidly changing and you need to run different scenarios. So the new financial modeling capability allows you to create your base set of data. So say your base budget as an example, link your assumptions and accounts, define your scenarios, and be able to flex those assumptions to be able to see what the impact is, say, on your bottom line, on your balance sheet, on your cash flow. So you can update your assumptions, recalculate, review the results, rinse and repeat, and go right through that process again and again and again. So it's a very powerful functionality that has been deployed and can provide a lot of value to many organizations. Also, that's been recently introduced with idu-Concept is predictive analytics as well. So being able to define multiple scenarios, define your parameters of periods of history, and define your training window as well. So this will provide forecast assumptions based on these different variables. So it goes beyond just the budgeting and planning to be able to provide you some machine learning type approaches to developing your forecast. So where idu-Concept has all of the core functions that you would imagine. So on the financial modules aspect, you get your cost center budgeting, your personnel planning, your say your high-level revenue planning, and your financial reporting. Whereas if you want detailed revenue planning, you can actually use the revenue planning modules, which will allow you to go to a very detailed customer product approach to planning. And that's where the predictive analytics would also come in play as well, to be able to look at history and trends to help forecast what could happen in the future. And so how does machine learning work? As we discussed, we'll look at a period of history, we'll understand what the training window is, and be able to provide the forecast along with optimistic or pessimistic scenarios. So this is quite powerful. And as mentioned, this is designed for non-finance users. So users within the business that have access to the platform, to their different departments, cost centers can start running their different scenarios to see what the output will be. The next one is Board. And Board is an all-in-one corporate performance management and business intelligence tool. So this is really designed to be a modeling type platform and it's not module-based. So with Board, because it's not module-based and because it's a modeling platform, you can use the toolkit to deploy your budgeting, planning, and forecasting, financial consolidation, profitability modeling and optimization, strategic management, which is balanced scorecard strategy maps, analysis and simulation, all of your financial reporting and report packages, doing data exploration on big data, and being able to deploy all of your data visualization and dashboarding needs. And it's a really unique value proposition in the sense that with Board, obviously being a cloud-based solution, if required, it can also be deployed on premise. You can deploy many different data models. So if you're not really restricted to, say, have one database or one data model, you can actually, within your environment, spin up multiple data models. If you have multiple companies, as an example, with very unique requirements, you can deploy it many different ways, and you can restrict it by data model or have one single data model with everything. So it's a very unique platform in that sense. So with Board, it allows you to deploy workflow that can be very tailored to your organization's needs. So in here, we see some very large organizations that might say, this is our very specific process, and we want it to follow this process and have different navigation and workflow along with that. So with Board's drag and drop functionality, point and click and configure, you're able to set up the different workflow to navigate to different screens and trigger different processes. So it's very powerful from a workflow process, and you can also make it very visual on top of that. From a driver-based modeling, Board is designed to handle big data. So the actual database in the back end is highly compressed and high performing. That allows you to ingest very granular data. It can be at the daily customer product level, as an example, with all the different dimensionality, and you can pull that in and be able to run different reports and be able to even line up your detailed budgeting assumptions with that. And so what's quite powerful within the Board platform is that you can actually set up very detailed driver-based planning calculations. So you can calculate at a very, very detailed level. So you can set up your assumptions, your rate tables, and then Board will crunch the data at a very detailed level for you and be able to analyze and compare the data at that very detailed level. It's very unique in that sense. On top of being able to, say, crunch financial and volumetric type data, Board can also ingest text, comments, and documents at any level of granularity. So again, this is quite powerful and unique as you design your different templates and setups to be able to use that in your very own unique way. From a reforecasting standpoint, you can reforecast with ease. So as you're integrating into, say, it could be a single ERP or multiple ERPs, pull the data in and be able to update your forecast dynamically. Because we're linked into your ERP systems, your operational systems, as well as inputting the budget data inside the platform, you can automate your management reporting packages as well. So get very visual packages on top of that. Because Board also is an integrated CPM and BI tool, you can design your layouts to have both your financials and graphics within the same view, within the same platform. So very unique in that sense as well. You can also deploy executive briefing books. So you can flip the page, have your different tables and charts and commentary, and be able to filter and drill down right in those meetings as opposed to having static printouts. You can also deploy very stunning dashboards, drag and drop your objects onto your screen, mash data from different data sets, whether it's operational, financial, and non-financial data, and be able to pull it together all in one view in very interactive dashboards as well. And Board also has predictive analytics functionality. Because it can ingest big data, you can run your different statistical models and clustering. All right, so with only a few minutes left, we'll do the draw. So I'm just going to take a look at what the results are. All right, so now time for questions. So I'm just going to have a look at the question panel, see what has come up. So first question is, Do any of the solutions integrate with Sage 300? So Naji, across the board, this is actually from Naji. The answer is yes. All the solutions can integrate with Sage 300. Really, most of the tools that we discussed, they're really ERP agnostic. So there's different approaches to integrate with the data, but to answer your questions, yes. All right, there's a few more questions. Just in the interest of time, I'm going to try and limit it. But next question is, if we have multiple accounting systems, can these solutions integrate with all of them for consolidated budgeting and reporting? Maybe Donna, I'll let you tackle that one.
Sure. So through Rapidstart, the integration is actually done through flat files. So if you needed to, you could, do the imports, have different flat files through, for each of the ERP systems. As I mentioned, for adaptive insights, you either pay for one integration or unlimited integrations. So you could, have integrations to 4 different ERP systems, and we've seen clients with that. So particularly when you're looking at consolidations and new purchases and acquisitions. Sometimes the clients or the companies that you acquire have a different ERP system. Eventually, you'll roll them over and put them into yours. But in the short term or interim, we have seen ERP, different integrations to different ERPs. It's usually based on the org hierarchy or structure of the organization, but unlimited integrations for sure.
Yep, and for the consolidated piece, adaptive, so Workday Adaptive Planning and Board both facilitate financial consolidation, and idu-Concept is actually releasing that soon as well. Next question is, do you offer implementation solutions for manufacturing and distribution? So we do have expertise just from let's say a firm perspective in manufacturing and distribution. So we do have our best practices and frameworks for implementing solutions in various even sub verticals within manufacturing distribution. So to answer your question, yes. Last question I have here is, have you worked with not-for-profits? Yes, we've worked with many. So the not-for-profits is a very broad area as well. So whether it's true, say, charity-based or let's say NGO type organizations, we've really dealt with a number of them. So I know there's very unique requirements across the board, very unique reporting requirements as well, say from donors and things of that nature. So yeah, we've virtually seen it all. So that is the last of the questions. So thank you very much for joining our webinar today. We really appreciate the time. So please feel free to book your budgeting assessment. So if you want help navigating, say, the solutions or challenges we've discussed today, please go to crgroup.com/budgeting-needs and fill out the assessment form, and then we'll be in touch to help you navigate this journey. Thank you very much for your time today.